I'm not much of a TV watcher. Actually, for a couple of years, I don't even think I've watched television. And because of that, I often wonder why in the world anyone would watch reality TV. In my opinion, isn't life stressful enough? But the ones I think about are Real Housewives of the City, Big Brother, and there's so many more, but there's shows where the cameras catch all sorts of bad behavior, petty drama. But then I look around at the chaos in our world and bad behavior, the painful drama of wars and the famines and fires and feuding politics, and I realize it's a lot easier to watch something that you know is not, well, maybe not real, maybe is real, just to take your mind off what's so big in reality it's incomprehensible. And so that's where we and the disciples are alike. Even our times and the time of Jesus are not really that much different. So here in the gospel, we're set down in a crucial time of Jesus' life and ministry. It's nearing the apex of this point, of his point in teaching. He's been standing up to every kind of opposition. You can probably name them mostly on one hand, but the Herodians, the Pharisees, the scribes. And in surprising and varied alliances, they have gotten together to gang up on Jesus. They want to trap him so they can accuse him of breaking religious laws. They want to expose him as a fraud or a charlatan. And sometimes, maybe most times, they just want him dead. And through it all, Jesus hasn't been alone. His disciples have been beside him every step of the way. And so the thing is, even though they might have been with him, they have stood by him, but that doesn't mean that they've always understood what he's saying or what he's doing. And it's the same way that we can't always make sense of the world around us. It's the same way that we can get overwhelmed by the sheer weight of the world. The disciples feel their world closing in as well. You know, when events in life and in the world get too big to handle, our psyches act in self-defense. They find distractions for us. They keep us from being overwhelmed. And things are definitely heating up around Jesus. If you remember from last week, Jesus has just made fools of the scribes by comparing them to a poor widow. He takes her only 2 coins that she has and gives them to the temple offering. He points out that she gives her all, while they are just giving out of whatever extra they might have. So while the tension is building, his disciples only notice a building, the temple. So the building, in a sense, is the disciples' real housewives. They see the grand temple being rebuilt and they say, golly, look at that. It's large stones, huge buildings. Now granted, they're country boys from out in Galilee. They're getting their first glimpse of the big city, not unlike someone going to Manhattan for the first time and seeing the Statue of Liberty. But to see the temple, this city that's been so masterfully built, I imagine for the disciples, where it's been so stressful, it's almost an emotional relief. Something else to focus on. For the moment, they don't have to think about threats or Jesus' weird, dire predictions about the end of the world and his death. Between the existential tension and the things that we distract ourselves with are the finer points. Everything's not so big. There are the small, more personal things that really matter. We're blessed with a grand creation that's formed by the divine. We were sent Jesus as a Savior to guide us through all the circumstances of life. And he tells us Don't be led astray, because people will be out there, things will be out there pointing you in all sorts of directions. Reminds me, especially reminding of the news today, that, of Jonestown in Africa, and then the gathering of people in Berlin to recognize the Bundestag, the end of the war. Those are big things that are happening that and there were leaders that led people astray. But Jesus is underneath it all, really, I think, according to the disciples, just one more person who is going to get crushed by the Roman Empire. So it's easy to get distracted and to be pulled away from the hard things. But Jesus was going to offer all he had in a gesture that had to seem incredibly inconsequential to the disciples. And yet his offer to not fight back, but to be sacrificed, would change, maybe even save the world that barely noticed at the time. And maybe that is why, in the end, the disciples misunderstand Jesus. They ultimately deny him, they betray him, they desert him. They really would have preferred a king and the spectacle of the palms and the parade on Palm Sunday than the sacrifice he gave. But you know what? Jesus goes ahead and makes his offering of himself anyway. That's one thing that we shouldn't get distracted from, no matter what's pulling our attention. In that sacrificial act, Jesus shows us the lengths to which God would go to prove God's love for us. That each of us have value in God's eyes. Preaching professor David Lewis thinks that's why we come to church. So that once a week we can realize and be honest about our limited attention span, and then to realize a second thing, a more important thing, that God loves us anyway, just the way we are. That God has never and will never give up on us. That even as we marvel at things that just don't matter, and miss the ordinary and extraordinary sacrifices around us, God still comes to us. God comes to us always in love, and always to reach out, to find a way to save you and me.